Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Maresha Witi. Thank you for joining us. The Supreme Court has allowed the Standard Group, Royal Media Services and Nation Media Group to continue broadcasting on analog pending a further ruling by the judges. Justice Kalpana Rawal issued the interim orders before a 7-judge bench earlier today. KTN's Abby Agina was at the proceedings and now takes a look at what this means ahead of the global digital migration deadline slated for the 30th of June this year.
The interim order will be extended.
It was a verdict that temporarily brought relief to the 3 media houses in the country in their quest for justice in the digital migration case. The case pitting media owners against the Communications Authority of Kenya was before the Supreme Court for hearing. And top on the lawyers' agenda was to seek for an extension of the switch-off date for analog. The 3 media houses have been seeking additional frequencies and a broadcast distribution license which have not been forthcoming.
All we've been saying is that we, the 3 media houses, support digital migration. Give us a license, give us frequencies, give us time to transmit in order to bring in our equipment.
What we have given you is sufficient for now. What you want is for the whole country. You cannot get for the whole country now. This is a phased approach. As time goes by, you will get.
Although the Supreme Court judges heeded to the request for extension of the ruling switch-off date, the judges will be issuing a ruling on notice which will clearly state the position of the court over the ongoing digital migration case.
We have substantially complied, and your task is only to see that there's substantial compliance with the orders in respect to consultation and a bit of give and take, which we have done.
As of today, there has been no compliance. We don't have the frequencies, we don't have the self-provisioning license which they have issued to us. It would be atrocious for one to suggest, can I just finish? It would be atrocious for one to suggest that the authority has complied because they have issued us with a self-provisioning license which they have now repossessed, or given us frequencies they have now repossessed.
The lawyers representing the media entities, namely KTN, Citizen, NTV and QTV, sought the court's direction over the recent revocation of the self-provisioning license by the Communications Authority as well. The judges deemed the matters not being up for consideration.
This mention was not necessarily triggered by the application we are making reference to.
In order to order transmitters, you must be allocated a frequency first, because that frequency needs to be configured in that transmitter. I think it's important to appreciate that transmitters are not things you go and buy off the shelf. You order them and they are manufactured.
The digital migration case has been rocked with several hiccups which have questioned the government's commitment in awarding the local stations the digital frequencies they have been pushing for. So far, media houses have been allocated 21 frequencies against their request to have 56 to sufficiently cover the entire country. Foreign Farm Pang, which is associated with StarTimes, has received 122 frequencies, while Signet was awarded 54. Media owners were also recently banned from importing set-top boxes that would be sold to members of the public for a one-off cost of 2,000 shillings under unclear grounds by the Communications Authority.
Compliance with the orders is for us to have a self-provisioning license, or a license, to have frequencies, and to be given time to import the equipment so that we can migrate. That to me is what compliance means.
And now, as the two parties await the court's verdict, TV viewers can only but hope for a favorable outcome into a matter that has remained contentious, raising speculations over the future of local broadcasters. Abiagina, KTN. Narok Senator Stephen Olentutu and 4 other MPs will spend the night at the Muthaiga police station. They were arrested earlier today following protests in the county on Monday, during which 2 people were killed. Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Nkaiseri had instructed them to record statements with the CID over the demonstrations. Wilson Buri has the details.
There are reports of protests outside Narok town following the arrest of Senator Stephen Tutu and 4 members of parliament. Police patrols have been boosted in Narok town and residents say there is a lot of tension. This comes just 2 days after Interior CS Joseph Ngaiseri ordered investigations into the chaos that rocked Narok on Monday, leading to the deaths of 2 people. Tutu and 4 other MPs were at the CAD headquarters to record statements and further grilling over Monday's tragic incident. Tutu was in the company of MPs Moitalel Olekenta, John Angeno, Kolei Olelemain and Patrick Ntutu. They were accused of planning and taking part in Monday's demonstration, which had already been declared illegal by the government.
We've recorded statements and the issues revolve around the meeting that the peaceful demonstration and presentation of the petition that they presented to the governor of Narok County, and therefore the issues revolved around that incident.
Pahali pengi katika Kenya watu huwa wanaandamana, hawapigwi risasi. Jana tulipigwa risasi, mtu mmoja yetu akaaga dunia, wengine wako kwa mahospitali na majeraha ya risasi, na tunataka kusema ama kuomba serikali waseme ni nani aliwapiga watu yetu risasi, kwa sababu hata kama watu wakifanya maandamano sio jukumu ya serikali kuchukua bunduki na kupiga watu risasi.
The 5 lawmakers will be spending the night at the Muthaika police station waiting for charges to be preferred against them tomorrow, that is Thursday. Let's now bring in Bernadetta Maura, a reporter from Radio Naisga in Narok, to just give us more details on what's happening. Bernadetta, we heard that there were reports of fresh protests in Ntulele and one other place. What is the latest?
Then actually at Ntulele there were rumors that they were going to have to demonstrate, but they did not demonstrate at all. The OCS got information at the right time, and he came to the situation. I spoke with him through the phone earlier on, and he has confirmed that the place is calm, but they are expecting the wash tomorrow, according to the residents of Ntulele. They say that they are a bit chaotic, but they told me they are in situation.
Bernadetta, you're in Narok town right now. What about Narok? What is really happening there?
Narok town is calm. Nothing much is going on. The businesses are still operational. And but the people here were in groups earlier on when they heard about the arrest of the 4 MPs and the senator. But so far, nothing much is going on. The businesses are operational. The border operators are still doing their businesses. Nothing much to say as for now.
Thank you, Bernadetta. Bernadetta Maura, presenter, a reporter at Radio Naisga in Narok, just giving us what the latest saying that Narok is calm as we speak. Now, the High Court has begun a 3-day hearing of the petition by court challenging the implementation of the controversial security laws. Through Senior Counsel James Orengo, court told the court that the laws touch on county issues and should have been debated by both houses of parliament. It said they also infringe on fundamental human rights on the citizens. Orengo argued that the publication period of the bill was reduced to just 1 day as opposed to 14 as stipulated in the Constitution. The hearing continues tomorrow before the 5-judge bench led by Justice Isaac Lenaola.
The Bill of Rights is an integral part of Kenya's democratic state, and it goes on. I'll just stop there and say that, again, this is an important principle which cannot only be dealt with in the context of the Bill of Rights, but looking at Kenya as a whole, and as a republic and as a state. The question of the Bill of Rights is essential.
Police in Rongai, Nakuru County have launched a manhunt after a 34-year-old woman allegedly buried her newborn baby alive just a few minutes after she delivered. Neighbors at her Lomolo estate home, however, noticed the new grave and uncovered it only to discover the newborn. Kamche Menza has details of this story.
A few meters inside this bush, a day-old baby escaped death by a whisker. The mother allegedly buried her baby alive a few minutes after she delivered at around 3 p.m. yesterday. Fortunately, though, a neighbor who took his cattle to graze in this bush noticed the freshly dug grave.
Venye nimefika hapo, mbuzi kaanza kustuka. Nikaona alikuwa ni nini nimestukia. Kufungua hivi nikaona ni gunia. Na nimechimbwa alafu ni ya saa hiyo tu, bado unaona hata footstep ya mtu. Kashindwa nikaita jirani sasa.
Vile alifungua akapata ni mtoi mdogo sana. Sasa hiyo time mimi sikurealize huyu mtoi alikuwa alive. Mimi nikamwambia story tutafanya. Tuambie polisi juu kuna epic camp hapa.
Tukaanza kutumia chembe kutoa mawe. Kidogo mawe kubwa sana upande hii. Tukatoa mawe kwanza, tukatoa mchanga. Alafu tukaona sasa tutoe kwa mkono, tukatumia mkono na chembe polepole.
The baby was still alive.
Nilimuona akiwa hana mimba tena. Na sijasikia mtoi akilia. Na nimeenda hapo mpaka hapo, nilikuwa na expect aniambia hata nimsaidie kazi ndogo hivyo. Lakini hakuniambia. Nikaenda nikamuuliza ati unasikia aje? Akaniambia kichwa inamuuma. Sasa unaona. Ndio nikarealize kuna kitu alikuwa ana hide.
Na anakana wasiwasi sana. Sasa kumuuliza ananiambia hapana. Mapolisi tutupameenda penye na chemsha, alafu akatafuta kamunya akaingililia hapo na akaenda.
At the time of the alleged incident, the woman's husband was away from home. Upon his return, though, he was too shocked for words.
Siwezi kukuelezea upande hiyo. Imedhuru kiasi.
The infant is now recuperating at the Nairobi Women's Hospital, Nakuru branch. Kamche Menza, KTN from Nakuru County.
That story is so shocking. It is painful if you are a father like me. All the best to that little angel. Now, you may have heard of artificial insemination of livestock, but have you heard that chicken are also now being artificially inseminated? Well, a chicken breeding farm in Western Gishu County is now using this technology, and what is said to be the premier case in East and Central Africa. Here's KTN's Marcy Kandie, the details.
The sound of a booming chicken business got out of a technology used to improve greatly the agriculture sector, in the region, however, being restricted to livestock. The artificial insemination takes a different focus here to improve the poultry breed.
When you do artificial insemination, I would guarantee you a 95% fertility in all eggs.
On the outskirts of Eldoret town at a Kapseret farm, going by the name Kukuchik, is the first hatchery in East and Central Africa. To have embraced the AI technology in poultry breeding, where the male chicken is kept specifically for semen to fertilize the female parent stock.
Is able to lay eggs as it scavenges. The same bird is able to produce meat and more than 3 kilos in under 4 months. Now,
the breeding center has over 9,000 parent stocks of cocks and hens. The AI procedure is conducted once every 3 days, and the fertilized eggs are taken to the hatchery for incubation.
Actually sells at only 100 shillings. That is for day-old birds. We sell 200 shillings for 2-week-old birds. We also sell at 300 shillings for 1-month-old birds.
Other than for hygiene purpose, the cages are also vital for ensuring that the cocks do not mount the females, because they are too heavy and may lead to injuries, since the male chicken weigh up to 10 kilograms while the hens weigh about 2 kilograms. The female hybrid stock, which began laying eggs at 6 months, give a minimum of 220 eggs per single laying cycle of 8 months. The farmers here say the ordinary Mwananchi too can embrace this.
This bird can be bred using less technology. You don't need to do a very expensive house. You don't need to invest a lot. You can use a grass-thatched house, a mud house,
According to the farmers here, the breed is distinct from the native bird because they can adapt to any environment and don't need the complicated lighting system to survive. Technology, as they say, is to make life easier. Here, it's that and a fast maturity rate. Masi Kandiye, KTN, Kapseret, Uasin Gishu County.
Interesting story there from Masikandi. Let's now focus on a story that some of you have been talking about on social media. A 14-year-old girl from a public primary school in Kakamega wants to be a civil engineer. She believed that by scoring 412 marks in last year's KCPE, she would secure a place in a national school. That did not happen, and hers is not the only distressing story over the Form 1 selection criteria. KTN's Dorcas Wangira reports.
14-year-old Whitney Nyachoti is trying to maintain a brave face. She's saddened by the outcome of the Form 1 selection process. Whitney didn't fail her KCPE. She has 412 marks out of a possible 500. She was second and the best girl in Lubinu Primary School's class of 2014. But she won't be going to any of the national schools she chose.
I was shocked. I expected to go to Kenya High or maybe Alliance.
What hurts her the most is that some of the classmates she outshone will be going to national schools. One with 393 to Mangu High School, another with 384 to Lenana School, and one with 402 to Moi Girls Eldoret.
Opted for national school. I think I'd be wasted in the Safedat girls.
Emmy Omuhaka, Whitney's mother, understands her child's anguish. All her siblings went to national schools on merit. One with 439 went to Limuru Girls, and her brother went to Kakamega High School.
Hata yeye mwenyewe amesema hataenda hiyo shule. Sikuona alama ya maana ya kuchagua shule. Ni kama tu sasa watoto hao wangefanya mtihani alafu waanze kuzunguka kutafuta shule.
Caleb Miroro says he has done all he can for his last-born. He's just from Moi Girls Eldoret trying to secure a place for her. The school was her third choice. The Sacred Girls, her first county school choice. He doesn't know what is going to happen because he isn't the only one.
Ningeomba tu kati ya shule zenye mtoto alichagua waweze kunisaidia.
The Ministry of Education had guaranteed that the selection process would be guided by the principles of equity and fairness, that every child would have a fair chance of placement based on merit, choice and quota. But so far, misunderstanding clouds the process. 85% of the KCPE candidates like Whitney were from public schools. Only 20,291 of the candidates were guaranteed a place in the country's national schools. She feels left out and just wants a logical explanation.
Primary Western, secondary Western, it's not my thing.
Last year, more than 60 students from Kakamega Primary School were selected to go to national schools. This year, only 21 have been chosen. The best with 406 has been called to the Serehe Boys Center. One with 352 has been called to Nakuru High School. 310 pupils sat for their KCPE. None of the children in this year's class wants to go to a county school. They believe they can only achieve their dreams if they live.
Whitney Nyachoti feels that this year's Form 1 selection criteria has been like a gamble or like a game of dice, that whoever has rolled her dice and determined where it should fall has been unfair to her. This trend is becoming worrying to both children and parents, leaving more questions than answers. Dorcas Wangira, KTN, Musonga, Kakamega.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now take you to Kajiado. And the Orange Democratic Party is tonight expected to announce its flag bearer for the Kajiado Central by-election after receiving the final tally of the party's primary nominations.
The nominations were held at the Maasai Technical Training Institute in Kajiado town. Three of the aspirants have, however, claimed that the exercise was marred by irregularities after one person was nabbed with ballot papers at the Seal polling center.
The Orange Democratic Party decided to elect its flag bearer for the Kajiado Central by-election slated for March 16th through universal suffrage. The primaries were held in 50 of the 87 polling centers in the constituency. There was a low voter turnout in some polling stations, maybe because it was a working day. The party used the voter register provided by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. 5 candidates Paul Kaika, Dr. Naomi Kipuri, Simon Kerry, Olerasha Paita and Memusi Konchori wrestled out for the ODM ticket.
We are confident that this exercise will end well and shame the agents of doom who expected this exercise not to proceed peacefully, calmly, in an orderly manner.
For those who have been spreading the propaganda about the party, that the party cannot conduct any nominations, today is the day they need to see that party can conduct nominations in a very peaceful way.
But even as voters trickled into polling stations to exercise their democratic right, 3 of the aspirants, Simon Kerry, Paul Kaika and Olerasha Paita, claimed the exercise was not fair after some malpractice had been reported at Basil polling station. They expressed fears that their competitor Memusi Konchori may have been given an unfair advantage by the ODM secretariat. Memusi ditched the Jubilee Alliance party for ODM after he narrowly lost to Patrick Tutui. He also comes from the same Matapato clan as Tutui, which is a major voting bloc in the constituency. Some pundits say Memusi will easily clinch the ODM ticket.
We have been complaining, and we met with the party leader and we told him very clearly that whatever was going to happen today was just an exercise in futility.
Kama sasa tumeshapata irregularities, ndakuwa naamini aje matokeo.
Ababu na Mwamba Aljunet Mohammed visited Basil polling station where the malpractice had been reported.
The lady who was in charge of the polling station went to relieve herself, so it's like he picked the ballot papers from inside and he went out with them and tried to mark them, but when he came back the agents were all ready and he was caught. And
the fact that the party director of elections, the party secretary general, have rushed here on hearing of this incident should send a very clear message of how seriously ODM is taking the integrity of this process.
The Kajiado Central seat fell vacant after immediate former MP Josephine Kaiseri was appointed Cabinet Secretary for Interior. The winner of the ODM primary will face off with Patrick Tutui of Jubilee Alliance Party. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Kajiado.
Now, 70% of the cases before the Kisii law courts are related to land and murder. This was revealed during the inauguration of a new county land board in Kisii. And as KTN's Fred Mutori reports, the board is tasked with addressing the increased number of land disputes in that county.
We want to bless them.
Resolved land disputes and injustices have been cited as the major cause of conflict in Kisii.
That I will faithfully and fully, impartially.
And now an 8-member committee is expected to give direction in this age-old challenge.
Actually, 100%, if not 98%, are related to land disputes, not just land matters. Everybody has mnaongea mambo ya beacon. Kuna kitu kingine? Ni hiyo tu. Why? You know the resource constraints here against the population, your customs and traditions, because I must get my father's inheritance, hata kama ni 45, you know that, eh? This is a very serious challenge.
You have an uphill task. I'm hearing land disputes from morning to evening, on a daily basis.
It was revealed that the county is also grappling with cases of some people forcibly taking possession of title deeds which belong to other people. It emerged that many of the residents subdivide their land without clear demarcation. Upon the death of the original owner, therefore succession disputes arise. Last week, the new board engaged the public on their land issues.
The review process identified 77 plots that had been acquired irregularly.
The illegally acquired parcels of land include land intended for a cemetery, riparian land, land reserved for a fire station, research, an open-air market, and a community training center.
The town has absolutely no recreation land.
Land is emotive, and perhaps more emotive in Kisii than anywhere else.
And now the county government is petitioning the national government, seeking the repossession of these plots of land. Fred Muturi, KTN, Kisii.
Away from Kisii County, Senate Minority Leader Moses Wetangula says CORD will come up with a suitable formula of bringing together all affiliate parties of the coalition in the run-up to the next general election. Wetangula says that the new approach will not necessarily lead to the dissolution of affiliate parties. Here's the second part of his interview with KTN's Aaron Ocheng.
We've seen your counterparts in Jubilee. They are forming their own party. Are we going to see CORD going into 2017 as one party?
We are looking around for mechanisms in which we will be able to limit inter-CORD partner competition. And that's why since the last elections, we have not in any parliamentary or senatorial by-election fielded a candidate against each other. Right from Bungoma, Makueni, Matungulu, in Msambweni, although it didn't go to the end. Everywhere we have gone in Siaya, right now in Homa Bay, in Kajiado Central. We are practicing what we say, that we will not play into the hands of our opponents by fragmenting ourselves and therefore weakening our strength to give them an opportunity to win. And where we have gone as a team, united, we have won. So it's a pointer to things that will happen in 2017. And what is critical for us as CORD is to have a democratic, free, fair, open and just mechanism of arriving at a candidate whom even those who will not win will respect the outcome and then stand together.
Is the presidential ambition still alive?
It can never die. It can never die. We are, like I said many times before, the three of us as principals in CORD were presidential candidates in the run-up to the last elections. Two of us subordinated our ambitions to one of us, and we will find ways and means of finding in 2017 who will subordinate to who.
It looks like CORD is a little bit crippled in Parliament in terms of making their legislation pass. Do you think at some point we're going to see a bipartisan approach to several bills so that we might be seeing the country legislations moving ahead?
In the Senate, the bipartisan approach has been more meaningful and achievable than probably in the National Assembly. But I hope, you know, in the process of legislation after elections, there's always the heightened suspicion and tension immediately following elections. But as we reach midterm, things mellow a bit. Then as we start cascading towards the next elections, again, the levels of suspicion start growing and things become more and more difficult to have a bipartisan approach. I hope that this year, being the midterm year, is the year where we can achieve most bipartisan approach legislations. And since the year has just started and we are resuming the House sittings on 10th of next month, let's wait and see how it goes. As the leadership from CORD, we will always go along and support any legislation that is good for the country, and we'll oppose any legislation that is draconian and unhelpful to the country. And we may talk of the tyranny of numbers. We certainly, without any fear of contradiction, boast of tyranny of brains in our side. And where the things go the way they did, like in the security bill, our brains will go to court like we have done, and we will definitely have our day there.
All right, thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you.
All right.
A very good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. Users of Thika Highway and other major roads, including the Mombasa-Nairobi-Nakuru Highway, will soon be required to pay toll fees. This comes as the government announced plans to reintroduce the road toll project. The Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, together with the World Bank, will in the next 1 month appoint a lead transaction advisor to advise how the initiative will be introduced and implemented. KTN's Philip Keitani has the details.
Kenya has been on an expansionary path over the last 10 years. A hallmark of this has been the major road constructions used to open up the country. While the government has spent billions of shillings on this front, it has posed a question of how the roads will be maintained to ensure their durability.
You see, we are investing quite a lot of money on the roads, building construction of roads. And there are regulations governing the use of those roads, including the number of axle of loads. And if anybody, and again I want to report that all the transporters, they must be able to comply with that.
The tolling system idea was first introduced in 2012 but failed to take off after several groups threatened to protest against the proposed toll stations. But the ministry says it has worked out all links and is bringing on board a transaction advisor to propose a model that will not negatively affect motorists. The ministry is working together with the World Bank Group to source a transaction advisor who will be appointed by the end of February. The consultant will guide the government how best to start charging users of Nairobi-Mombasa and Nakuru-Nairobi highways, Thika Highway, and the yet-to-be-constructed Southern Bypass. The ministry plans to put up the 4 roads under toll charges model for a period of 30 years. The government is working on a public-private partnership framework that will allow private sector players to recoup investment made in road maintenance. Toll collection provide an accelerated mechanism for financing construction and maintenance. The government also plans to construct a bypass around Eldoret town, dual the Mombasa-Mariakani highway, to ease the movement of goods and services from the port of Mombasa with the help of the African Development Bank, putting the 2 projects as candidates for tolling.
As you know, this road has been a critical bottleneck for goods coming out of Mombasa. And given that Kenya has embarked on a strategy to improve the performance of the port of Mombasa, it's critical that we accompany them by dualling this road so that trucks leaving the port are not delayed.
No pricing formula for the toll project has been agreed on. In Africa, only South Africa and Morocco have toll roads, with Rwanda also said to be considering a similar move. Philip Keita, KTN Business.
Many thanks there, Philip. Receiver managers of embattled flower farm Karuturi are disputing claims the farm and its assets have been put up for sale. This follows an ad put in the dailies on Monday by the PSG advisory group, giving interested buyers up to the end of February to submit bids for the Naivasha-based flower farm. Karuturi, which is one of the world's top growers of roses, was put under receivership in 2014 after failing to service a 383 million shillings loan borrowed from CFC Stanbic Bank. In a statement, Ian Small, one of the receiver managers appointed by the bank, says the focus remains on rebuilding the business and continued supply of flowers. The flower farm has been hit by a string of lawsuits by suppliers seeking compensation for unsettled deliveries. The Kenya Revenue Authority is also demanding 962 million shillings from the embattled flower farm over the alleged tax evasion, though transfer pricing. The receiver managers reiterate that they will not be entering into any sale process. And now to some agribusiness story. Sorghum farmers want the National Treasury to review the excise duty imposed on keg beer in this year's budget. This will guarantee the farmers a market which they term as critical for the sector. According to farmers, the tax is hurting production because demand for the cereals have declined, leaving them with huge stockpiles and no income. KTN's Michael Karanja has more.
Since October 2013, sorghum farmers have been a distressed lot. The introduction of excise duty on keg saw demand from the country's largest buyer, Kenya Breweries, decline as sales of its Senator keg product dropped. With no alternative market, sorghum farmers have had to look with despair as their key source of income dries up. The wait for a revocation of the tax has been longer than some farmers had anticipated, and they are now starting to get desperate. Some farmers are already cutting their losses and turning to alternative crops to generate income.
Sababu tulikuwa tunategemea sana mahindi na mvua ikakuwa ni kidogo, tukaanza kupanda mtama.
Wale wamebaki nao wamelima mzuri kama mimi ni kama 5 hawezi kupita hapo because they don't know. They are asking, where are we going to take our sorghum?
Senator keg was introduced in 2004 and remained tax exempt until 2013 when a 50% excise duty on beer made from sorghum, millet or cassava was introduced, impacting demand. The farmers, however, feel duped with a government that encouraged farmers to grow hardy crops such as millet, sorghum and cassava to boost food security, only to have the same government introduce taxes that limit market access.
But there's a lot of uncertainty around sorghum, which is the crop that is good for these ASAL regions, because the main market, which was the pillar for sorghum, is like collapsing, or I can say it's facing a lot of issues from the high taxations and issues that have been brought in by taxing the keg beer, which was the main driver for sorghum.
Ile volume tuliokuwa nayo, naona ile bargaining power hatutakuwa nayo kwa sababu tumebaki na wakulima wadogo.
What was once viewed as a savior crop has now brought farmers disillusion. Sorghum farmers have already formed a lobby group that is seeking to engage with the Treasury to have the excise duty scrapped. Michael Karanja, KTN Business.
Well, let's now take a look at how your money worked in our financial report. Moving on, the Joint Executive Committee deliberations between Kenya Premier League and Football Kenya Federation have sadly collapsed. Football Kenya Federation has moved ahead from the FKF Premier League, even as Kenya Premier League insists that they are bona fide and mandated to run Kenyan soccer in the league. With the new developments now, FIFA is now expected to step in and crack their whip. Hassan Juma with the details.
When the world governing body FIFA sent their officials into the country, they were expected to midwife a process that would bring together Football Kenya Federation and Kenya Premier League into an agreement on the issues that had thawed their relationship. However, FIFA left without the proverbial white smoke bellowing, instead told the two to come to a consensus since it was an internal problem. Talks have broken down, with KPL insisting that the league that kicks off on the 21st of February will remain with 16 teams. KPL is looking into reducing the participating teams from 16 to a manageable number and will not recognize suspensions imposed on some of the officials by Football Kenya Federation. However, the National Association has moved ahead to form a new league, Football Kenya Federation League, that will kick off on the 14th of next month and will have 18 teams. FKF is adamant that KPL walked out of the talks. The National Association has secured a sponsor for the top flight league this season and have promised that each club will bag 9 million shillings annually. The resolutions are expected to be tabled in a delegate special general meeting scheduled for Friday. Following the new twist, the world governing body FIFA is expected to give guidance into the new development. Hassan Juma, KTN Sports.
Those are your opinions on our big question tonight. We thank you for participating, for watching KTN Prime. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Linda Ogutu.
Many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime tonight. My name is Ben Kitili. Have a good night. Remember, Jeff Koinange Live begins shortly. Stay with us.